Hey, gorgeous souls. Welcome to another juicy, joyful episode of Live Your Best Laugh. I have an absolute gorgeous soul with me today, the wonderful Caroline, yay, also known as DJ Flourish. Caroline is on a mission to make authenticity contagious. She believes that we're all disco balls. I bloody love that. I literally love that. And the more we know, love, and accept every part of ourselves, especially the hidden parts, the brighter we shine. So, Caroline Kelf, also known as DJ Flourish, it's amazing to have you with us here today, my lovely. I would love for you to just say hello to anyone listening and yeah, anything you would love to share about yourself, my darling.
Oh God, put me on the spot. Um, uh, well, hello everybody. It's nice to connect with you all, even though I can't see you or know who is going to be listening to this. But it's really nice to connect, and it's really interesting when you were saying that bio because, like, I always send the bio depending on how I'm feeling on that day.
Right.
Right, and I know I'm in a bit of a brighter mood than I was on that day. I was obviously in a bit of a dark place because I was like, accept all of ourselves, including the hidden parts, the hidden dark parts. So I must have been having a dark day, um, and but I do also really believe that that is true, and it's also a never-ending journey to become more disco ball, to to kind of understand yourself more and more, which is what I mean by becoming more disco ball. It's like, the disco ball's made up of lots of different parts. And some of those parts are like your joy, some of them's like your gifts, your talents, what makes you special, the way you communicate, and then there's the bits that are like harder to face, like the fact that I like to control, that I'm a perfectionist, that I've got lots of addiction tendencies, that I can wallow in self-pity quite a lot. And so it's kind of like getting to really know all of yourself and accept and embrace that. And then the more and more you become yourself, the more and more you just shine naturally without having to
Mm,
try and be all show offy shiny, if that makes
yeah.
sense. So yeah.
Oh, it makes so much sense. And I love your first reflection on I must have been feeling more because it's like it's so real. And that's just what before we hit record, that's just what we were talking about, weren't we? And I think we are so faced by a ton of non-realness in spaces that we can be in like socials like Insta and all over the place. It's like there's this, like not showing all and allowing all bits of the disco ball. So and I think people can look at someone who's a business owner or doing whatever they're doing and like, oh, they're like this all the time. And it's just not freaking true, is it? We
No.
can feel yay and we can feel, oh my God, and we can feel everywhere in between. And sometimes that's like before it's, like lunchtime. Do you know
Mm.
what I mean? So I think that's just a really great and honest and normalizing opener to this
Yeah.
conversation. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? That,
Yeah.
because we can read things and see things and decide things based on, this like little snapshot. And like none of us are a little snapshot, are we?
No.
You
And
know?
I know, and I do it within myself all the time as well. There's like such judgment on myself that I'm not like being who my expectation of myself is as well. So it's
Yeah.
not just like,
Yeah.
it's not just what like I'm portraying to people, it's actually within my own head as well.
Yeah.
So
God.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's like it's complex being human, right?
It's very complex. It's complex being a 48-year-old woman as well. That age is pretty complex, I think, when you're like the sandwich generation, and you've got kids and older parents, and it's so, and we're living in such a world of perfection. And you and I are in the industry where we're kind of what solopreneurs, and there's and there's a lot of expectation on us to show up in a certain way on social media, and to do it in a certain way, to do our marketing in a certain way, to do and to really like go against the grain and actually think, no, what is right for me, and to then do that, and then work your way through all your own fears around that, because I'm a recovering people pleaser, and fear of what people think, and I doubt myself quite a bit as well.
Mm,
So I make these firm kind of solid commitments within me that this is the way I'm going to do things, and then the doubt creeps in, and then, and so it's a kind of daily, hourly kind of like, actually, what's the truth here? Truth is such a strong word for me.
right.
What is the actual truth here? So yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I so resonate, and it was interesting what you said about truth at the end of that, because one of the things I will say to myself to help myself when all those things you're saying, like, yes, self-doubt, yes, all these things come in, is I'll say to myself, is it true? Because we can so easily spiral into all sorts of imagined scenarios because we're feeling scared or judged or stressed, or, insert like the multitude amount of emotions we can feel, right? So something that like helps me kind of go, is it true? And it's like, well, actually, like, do I know that? Do I not? And we've got to find these ways to like bring ourselves back so we don't, go off
Mm,
into these, but again, it's like this is just what humanness is, right? I think anyone listening to this will be going, oh yeah, that's me. Oh yeah, because like otherwise we're not being ourselves, right? Life is not like that. It's not this linear kind of really kind of like, oh, like just like cruise along, breeze along. There's all sorts of stuff happening to us and around us all the time. So it's like it's okay for us to feel like this. What's really helpful is us finding ways to for that not to take over, and for
mm,
that to be all consuming, which like essentially is like that's a lot to do with why this podcast exists, is because we're all like in our humanness all the time, and it can feel really complicated, and draining and all the things, and amazing for sure. It can feel all the things.
mm,
But the essence of this is to kind of like just have rich, raw, honest conversations about what it's like being human, and how we can help ourselves find, beautiful energies like joy, and like excitement, fun, play, love, peace, all the things which help us like,
mm.
just,
Yeah.
yeah, like
Yeah,
calm.
and tap into truth, because they are truth. All those
Yeah.
emotions, they're truth, aren't you? When you're in that peace, and you're in like long lasting joy that's in your heart, not like a dopamine rush, more like a long lasting heart. That's truth.
Yeah, yeah, love
Mm.
that. I know you like you talk about joy. Joy is something that is like important to you, like in terms of you feeling into joy. Like, is it something you prioritize? You value it? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I've had quite a journey with joy, because I started like kind of delving much more deeply into it about 10 years ago, because
Mm,
I went on quite a deep kind of personal development journey, but it became quite boring, because it was all like, yoga, green juices, and not really
right.
much fun. And before before I know, well, I'm a bit of an extremist, right? So I'm a bit obsessive. I have obsessive tendencies. And it's actually something that I have to be very mindful of now, because I'll get hold of an idea, and then that's it. I won't. I get become fixated on it. And
Right.
so if when back then it was like, right, I'm going to start, went into the personal development world after I had my daughter, and was probably like my late 30s, and you're just getting to that age, aren't you? And you're kind of like, well, what am I doing? And all that kind of stuff. I got into it like with gusto, and it was all, yeah, became quite rigid and strict actually, because
Mm.
that's another tendency of mine, rigidity and obsessiveness, that kind of thing. And um, and then someone introduced me to the concept of joy, and I started thinking about it, and I was like, right, well, I could feel in my gut that's where you need to be focusing your attention now, but I didn't know what it kind
Mm.
of looked like.
Right.
Um, and so that then I became fixated on that, obviously, and that was then my only focus on my mission. But I started trying things out, like creativity and like art classes and gardening and all this kind of stuff. But there wasn't really anything. I mean, it gave me sustained joy, which is what I describe it now when I do go and do talks. I talk about soul joy, sustained joy, and simple joy. They're like three different types of joy. And it gave me sustained joy, which is when I've sat and done something that is mindful and, you know, takes my mind off stuff, and it is quite nice colouring stuff in and all that kind of stuff, but it didn't give me like a real kind of um like feeling in my heart kind of stuff. And so someone said, well, maybe ask yourself the question when you were the most happiest in your life. And for me, that was when I was, because I used to be massively into clubbing. So,
Mm.
it was when we were at after parties, and I was like pulling together music, and like on the kind of either next to someone who's on the deck saying, put this one on, put this one, put this one on, or
Mm.
on the hi-fi system, which is what we had those days, and I'd
Yeah.
be like, right, no, I would like put together this kind of set for the after party, so that the after party would basically extend on for long periods of time. This was a bit of a party animal.
Yeah.
um, but also I would put I'd put playlists together for people and record CDs, and like I would, like my mates and stuff, have all got different personalities, and I would create like mixes to match their personalities and all this kind of stuff. So it was quite creative, and I was like, oh my god, I used to love doing stuff with music like that. So then I decided to try DJing,
Mm.
and it really was a different type of joy that I felt within me. It was when I pressed play, I just kind of like felt like I came alive.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, so then I really, uh, you know, started DJing a lot and
Yeah.
putting together mixes and stuff like that. And again, I got fixated and very focused on that. Um, but since then, and then obviously I launched a business from it and started delivering raves and all this kind of stuff. But what I have realized is that now I need to have the mixture of soul joy, sustained joy, and simple joy. I can't just do the DJing soul joy all the time, because it's actually quite heightening. Because I
Right.
play house music, and it's drops and bilbs and big dopamine things and everything. It's okay on certain days, but it's not okay on some days. I have to, on those days where I'm really hyped up, I have to listen to the really grounding, more tribal like kind of beats. Um, or I do more of the sustained joy kind of stuff, which is like the gardening, the drawing creative stuff, like drawing a mandala or something like that. Um, and and then simple joy for me is like just moments in the day to either like stop, be still, and allow the joy to fill my heart,
Mm.
which is a practice, or the noise my dog makes when she chases a stick,
Yeah.
or wearing bright lipstick, because I love
Yeah.
wearing bright lipstick. Um, yeah, and it's been about getting to know myself and knowing what is the right choice for me on each day, and also to not for it not to be perfect, need to be perfect. And I think that's one of the hardest things for me. So, like for example, I've really felt recently the desire to do more kind of still creative joy, like
Mm,
drawing or painting or something like that. But as soon as I get an idea in my head, it becomes overwhelming because I'm such a perfectionist. I'll think, oh, well, if I don't have 10 different watercolors and they are all the best version that you can get, and I don't have a clean palette, and I don't have 2 hours, and I don't know exactly what I'm going to be painting, then I won't do it. And that's just totally extreme, and it's irrational. It's insanity, actually. And so I have to like say to myself, well, how can I make this less perfect and like less resistance and really doable? So, one thing is I do creativity with friends,
mm,
because then it doesn't become this big thing where I'm putting this big pressure on myself, and I'll like kind of reduce what we're doing. So like the other day, well, we got this idea with my friend that let's get together and make some mandalas, and I like got really into it, and I was like, right, well, you can do them in these different colors, and then you can have colored paper, and you kind of need a protractor, one of those protractor, so you need that in order to make the circles. And then I was like, no, right, how can we make this easier? And I literally have to give myself, right, you can have 15 minutes to spend on this, and it's got to be really simple. And so in the end, what we did was I just took round 4 pieces of A4, 2 pencils, and we went round her house and looked for circles, things that have got circles, so like the bottom of mugs, the bottom of bowls and stuff. We did our circles, and we just did it in pencil, and I stayed for an hour. And that's what I have to do with everything, in terms of like, if I'm going to choose a joyful thing, lower the expectation, make it really simple, have some form of accountability if, it's going to be a creative project,
yeah, yeah,
um, and practice it.
yeah,
And, but I always feel so much more connected after I had made an effort, because joy is an effort. Because
yeah, absolutely.
it's very easy to be like, oh, I can't bother to scroll, to get sucked into doing stuff. I'm just going
Mm,
to do,
yeah,
or I'm going to watch shit on Netflix. It takes effort to go, no, I'm going to go round to my mate's house and draw mandalas.
yeah, yeah,
But it is so, it helps me to connect with that truth that's in my heart and in my body. Um,
yeah,
that, like we said earlier, it doesn't come all the time.
yeah,
It,
yeah.
it is a practice.
Yeah, absolutely. I talk about this loads about joy being a muscle that we
Yeah.
can build. It's like if you want to go and be really good at, I don't know, running or some kind of exercise or whatever, like you're not going to arrive as this done deal, or you've got to kind of work on those areas,
Mm.
those muscles. And I think joy is absolutely one that we can do that with. But I think it just doesn't occur to many of us to work on that muscle. Do you know what I mean? I think
Yeah.
I think for many people it's just like, oh, if it happens, amazing, or it's probably going to
Mm.
happen there and that's great. Whereas actually, if we're intentional, and we look for that simple bit of joy, or we seek it, like you're saying, like doing the mandalas with your friend, you've decided to seek joy, to create joy, to choose it, to have it there, and then by doing this process. But also, we can kind of set our radar to, like, yeah, I think you mentioned like your dog barking and with the stick, right?
Yes.
So, like wherever, if anyone's like out walking somewhere, there's like a tiny, I mean, as I glanced out, it's sunny here today, and I'm just glancing out the cabin at my garden, and there's loads of little joy hits. You know, the sun shining, the grass with the sun on it, little tiny leaves that are starting to come off things that have been bare for months and months
Yes.
and
Yeah.
months. You know, that thing of like, oh my gosh, like things are birthing again. And that is that real kind of pure simple joy, isn't it? But quite often I think we're a bit eyes closed to it,
Yeah.
or like you were saying about the you know, we're doing, so we fly past, you
Yeah.
know, like
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
we don't notice it enough.
No, and something when I do my talks in corporate around joy is I know that the title of it is Spark Your Inner Joy, and and they all come like really excited because they think they're going to get this magic pill, and I'm so realistic, and I'm like, it's
Yeah,
not like that. I said you can discover your joy, you can discover like your soul joy by asking yourself like, when was I most happiest and things like that, and you can practice sustained joy by putting things in place, but also you've got to actually remove things from your life that are stopping you, and that's
mm,
probably one of the hardest things to do, because people don't want to make an effort and they don't like discomfort. So for me, I have a phone jail, so I put my phone in a jail,
right.
and so I can't pick it up, I can't look at it um, for like 2 hours or something sometimes. And then it means that I've taken that distraction out. It's not
Yeah,
there, it's not an option. And then it's like a forcing myself. I've got this time now, so I'm committing to it. So it is about, and like also, saying yes to things that you don't want to go to or you don't really want to do, and you're sacrificing um, that time that you could be having. And it's hard for me in corporate because they're all working their asses off and they're there from like 8 or whatever. So then I rock up with going, oh yeah, let's all have some joy,
yeah,
and but they haven't got time for it. But
yeah,
they will be saying yes to things that they don't want to do.
yeah,
um and if you were brave enough to not do them, then you would have that time.
yeah,
So
absolutely.
yeah, but it's been quite a journey from me for the last 10 years of discovering and then removing what doesn't serve, discovering, removing what doesn't serve, discovering, removing what doesn't serve, and also being trying to learn to be gentle and kind to myself throughout that whole process, knowing that part of my disco ball is rigidity, extremity, addiction, all those kind of things, and understanding that I just need to also take the pressure off myself as well with all of that.
Yeah, yeah. This is the thing with when we're like caught in habits of we just do this thing because, like you're saying, like what you're saying yes to, like what you're saying no to, and you can like years can go past and you're still doing this thing that maybe you'd agreed to years before, and
Yes.
like you've changed, circumstances have changed, like things have
Yeah.
changed around you. And so you can almost kind of like audit yourself, can't you? And just go, right,
Yeah.
like, whoa, what actually does put a smile on my face? What am I doing that like actually makes me feel like really resentful of it,
Yeah.
or
And drained.
grumpy or angry or frustrated? And I think so often we hold ourselves back from making these changes because, we're worried about how that person will think, feel, whatever, if it's like linked around like,
Yes.
something with a person
Yeah.
as opposed to a like a thing. And I think we just feel that like it's not okay for us
Yeah.
to do that. It's a negative thing. So like I was kind of like, well, you can have boundaries with love. It's
Yeah.
not making you a bad person by saying like this thing isn't okay for me. And it's like how we approach these things, isn't it? And sometimes something we've been saying yes to, like actually maybe many people feel very, very time poor, right? And that's not that it isn't a real thing. However, like I feel that there's spaces and places where we can just create just like, oh, there's a little bit of light there because, you know, like maybe I don't need to do that old thing anymore, which
Mm.
isn't doing my well-being, my mental health, my energy any good. Do you know what I mean? I think we just get so habituated that we forget that actually we can like change things up a bit.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think also when you start practicing joy, I also believe that that feeling of joy, which is truth, is your intuition as well. Because it's like a guidance, and it's become a guidance point for me. So when I'm feeling in true joy, I feel quite grounded and I feel connected and I feel um quite calm. And then if something doesn't feel like that, then I know that I'm not aligned,
Hmm.
you know. And so if I get a big reaction now to something, I'm like, well, what's going on here? Is this me, like an offer of something to do? It's
Hmm.
I'm either getting reaction because like I just don't want to do it, you know,
Yeah.
or there's something about it that I need to work on within myself before I go. Um, and and then when something feels like right, and it's like a person or an offer of work or a place to go or thing to do, I feel that sense of joy and a
Hmm.
little I just get like it's like a river and a rush through my body. So
Yeah.
it's I do think that joy's also the muscle for intuition. The more we can spend in joy, the more intuitive we become as well.
Yeah, I love that, and that's that thing we get so caught up in our headspace, don't we, that we forget that actually down here in our bodies, our hearts, like that's where we're going to get those hits, like you say, that kind of like, does this feel good? It's like, oh, and God, how often have you? I can think of many occasion, like in the past, where I've done something and then gone, why the fuck did I do this?
Yeah.
Why? And because everything like in the body is just going, run for the hills. Do you know what I mean? And it's because I haven't been guided by that inner system of like, okay, because we know ourselves, right? But
Yeah.
it gets clouded, doesn't it? And we
Yeah.
can, yeah, just stop listening.
Yeah.
And I think my biggest shift actually in the last, I don't know, like probably in the last 10 years, is even, in fact, pre 10 years, I probably wouldn't even known about listening to my body. Do you know what I mean? And it doesn't mean that um, intuition hadn't kicked in at times, whatever, but it wasn't something that was in my language particularly, and
Me neither.
something that I was at all practiced in. And I like, gosh, still learning, learning, learning for sure. But I definitely understand that thing of like when my body just goes, what the fuck? And I go, oh yeah, thanks. Thanks for the,
Yes.
or it goes, yay, and
Yeah.
but it like certainly in the first few decades of my life, am I 53 now? So those first kind of 4 decades, like that wasn't a practice for me.
No.
And so I would end up in, situations where like just uncomfortable or stressful or all the things. So yeah, it's an interesting piece, isn't it?
Yes. It's big and it never ends, you know, and you kind of think you've got to get to this destination, but you really don't. Like it's just, and that's another thing about joy. It really is, I sound so cliche, but it really is in the moment.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
it really, you can't think it. It
yeah,
has to come from being in the moment or doing something where your mind is so occupied in what you're loving. It's
yeah,
not like you've got to have no thoughts
yeah, yeah, yeah,
as well, because I can like so one of the so out of my whole DJing, like all the different things you can do with DJing, which is, like playing on the decks, putting together mixes, listening to music, or and then searching for music. Like for me, it's the putting together of the sets that is when I'm in that soul joy. It's
Right.
like it's going, where would I take someone on a journey?
Yeah.
What tune comes after this? I feel into like what's the next tune, and that it's like half brain and half heart, but they're
Yeah.
working together kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
it's not always when people say in the moment. I used to find that quite hard to stomach because it's like, well, my brain is so busy. It's quite hard for me unless I sit in meditation for literally like 15 minutes. That does my brain doesn't switch off.
Right.
It will calm down after about 15 minutes, and literally after out of meditation, within about 5 minutes, I'm up again high because it's
Mm.
just the way my nervous system is set. And so, um, to actually have something to fixate myself on
Mm.
is actually also a form of meditation and being in the moment, even though my brain is being used, as it were.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I love that journey you took us on with all the different elements. Because when I think about you and doing your DJing, I'm picturing you like doing that, and it's like, well, of course, it's all the different parts
Mm.
are part of the joy from it. But I think probably what a big synergy with when you're doing your stuff and everyone's kind of like in that moment with laughter yoga is it's like it's you are in your body
Yeah.
because you're moving. You're okay, so with your stuff, like people are dancing and they're moving and all the things, and like that, like feeding off the energy is a lot of like when you're moving, like you're actually seeing people.
Yes.
And it's that similar energy for laughter yoga. It's like you're just in that laughter, that bouncing around, that like seeing, like, look, people's eyes like pinging towards each other. And
Yes.
and so often we're disconnected, aren't
Yeah.
we? Do you know what I mean? Like
We're
like
isolated. We want to isolate ourselves, don't we?
yeah, and like you probably have a similar thing when you're out walking your dog, right? When I'm running, I look at people and I say hi as I go past. And that's quite often like it's a dog walker thing, isn't it? People might say hello and whatever. But in our generalness, we aren't kind of eyes up, are we? And connecting. And I think in laughter, in dance, in anything like that play energy, we are much braver at actually seeing each other. And I think it's, because we're feeling more comfortable about being seen.
Yeah.
So then
Yeah.
it kind of works as
Well,
like
and
a,
then you're feeling joy and then euphoria and stuff, and then you see other people. Like when I do corporate raves, I kind of share that like the dance floor. Well, I say in a lot of my raves, like raving is such a connective experience because you're all encouraged to do your own dance in your own way, in your own authentic way, and everybody's dance needs to be different because we're all different, and that's exactly how it's meant to be. Not one dance is the same, yet at the same time you're in a shared space where you're respecting each other's dance, but you are all you're all in the same, you're all doing the same thing, you know
mm,
and yeah, and just connecting, but also like I and this is one of my, well, actually it's become more of a soul joy now than a sustained joy, and that's actually like helping people,
right.
you know generosity and giving.
Yeah.
um that's a practice
Yeah.
for some people, especially me. I've become quite isolated over the years, and in the last year I've become quite isolated because I had quite a lot of trauma last year, with my dad and granny passing, and so I became quite isolated. I needed
Mm,
to, but actually it was getting a little bit too isolated.
Yeah.
And so I volunteer and stuff like that. And
Right.
doing things like that is humbling, and
Yeah.
it really, really helps with joy. Like being put into situations where you wouldn't necessarily hang around with these people.
Mm.
They're not the kind of, especially because of us in the personal development world, it can become quite insular. And you're
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
this little personal development, women our age world,
Yeah.
which actually I think when you are our age, you do have to kind of like, going back to what I was saying about letting go of what doesn't serve, who doesn't serve, all that kind of stuff. You do have to do a little bit of that and
Yeah.
start finding your tribe. But then I
Yeah.
think I'd found my tribe so much, I'd narrowed it down to like three people. No one else was allowed in, you know. So I'm now coming out the other side more and forcing myself to
Yeah.
mix with lots of different people,
Yeah.
from all walks of life, because that's important too. But I'm doing it from a place of giving,
Yeah.
not from a place of judgment, and that creates that's such a truthful feeling of humble joy.
Yeah.
Um, so, but like obviously, like what we create on the dance floor and within your laughter, that's such a shared experience of, yeah, like playful, real elevated joy. It's
Yeah.
love,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's really, really special. It's
Yeah.
vulnerable, very vulnerable, but like
Absolutely.
you, I like to create a very safe space. And if people feel that, feel safe enough to do it, and they will let their guard down, it's just so magical.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is the thing, right? Joy can be many different things, many different energies. And I think this is where some people have like they just haven't like delved deep enough into what joy can be, because it like it should be this big all singing, all dancing, and it's actually, do you know what, it can be the tiniest thing. And actually when we start to rewire what we feel joy really is, we then see it in its vastness. Yes, like dance floor, laughter, yoga is big, kind of obvious joy, if you like, I guess. It's like, oh, of course we know that there's joy attached to that and da, da, da. But if we start to understand all the different places and spaces, like you're saying, with, I do some voluntary work and that connection
Yeah,
with souls that I might never have had a conversation with. Got like when we think about it, how many conversations have we had which have been massive joy givers,
yeah,
which we wouldn't anticipate if we hadn't had that, met that person, had that conversation there and then. So it's that
yeah.
openness to joy being in like perhaps the most surprising of places.
Yeah. Yeah. All we have to do is be willing. This is
Yeah.
something that I've so grasped in the last kind of few years, that like it doesn't matter if we don't know what the answer is. Like if we want something but we haven't got a clue how to get there, all we have to do is be willing, because
Mm,
willingness is the energy that shifts everything. If we
yeah.
stay in like, oh well, I can't because I don't know, that's not going to do anything. You just have to be willing, and then opportunities just come to you
Yeah.
that are shown, like, and it's like, oh gosh, yeah, just be willing and open,
Yeah.
and then stuff comes in.
Yeah. Oh, I so agree. And that's not what's the word I'm seeking? It's not honoring, like if you've been feeling shit and like
Yeah,
a ton of life is going on, like to you, around you, all the things. So it's not about not honoring that, is it? It's
no,
like this can all be happening and this can
yes,
all be true. But if we could just crack the door open a little bit towards willingness to,
yeah,
like if it could just feel that bit different, if I could just think that bit differently about what's going on, it's like you say, it's like then things start to open up and come to us and feel different. Like a willingness is like such a great way for us to it's like we can be here experiencing all these things, but actually it's like that almost that crack of light, isn't it? The other bit of the disco ball going, okay, well, like if we do this, then what else can ripple around it, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like last year, I had to be so willing when I lost my dad and granny, like to really, you know, find joy in different places because I couldn't get on the decks. I
Right.
couldn't. It was there was no. I didn't want to play house music. You know,
Mm,
I didn't want to play any music, and so I had to be willing to find joy in a different place, and I found that through potting plants in the garden
yeah.
and like potting bulbs basically, and I've got some
Yeah.
coming up now.
Yeah.
um, and it was so every day I saw a shift in the garden of the bulbs coming up and then flowering, and then I would go to the garden centre and get like bedding plants with just a few,
Yeah.
and I had to just yeah, be willing to find joy in different places even though I was in deep deep grief.
Yeah.
And it's the same now. I have to be I'm not just willing around joy. I have to be willing within my relationship with my husband. I have to be willing with my daughter. I have
Yeah.
to be, and I'm not all the time, but when I'm out of it, I can really fall into self-pity, and I can really fall into a victim mentality. And so, like, willingness is how I like to try and start every day
Yeah.
because it's such a shift in energy.
Yeah. Yeah. That's brilliant. And I think that's such a helpful reminder for anyone because we're all going to be navigating life in its many different iterations, like on a constant like loss, grief, like all the different things that come up. And the willingness to look at something and be, like and it can come in a different way, like
Yeah,
that's such a helpful way to look at things, isn't it? Just because this thing has been working and it's not going to work again, but it's just not the right fit for right now because of what's going on for me. It's like, well, what else can I do which is going to give me that purpose, that that lift, that energy, that same vibration that I got from it. Okay, I'm going to try this. I think like that explorer mindset, that willingness, that
yeah,
like what's possible is like
yeah,
it's just really helpful for us, isn't it?
yeah.
Um, I'd love to know, like in terms of your medicine, like go-to medicine, like what's your go-to medicine when you're having like a tough day? Like what do you know always kind of puts you to where you want to be.
On a really tough day, um, lower expectation.
Right. Brilliant.
Permission,
Yeah.
permission,
Yeah.
permission. Sometimes it might take me a few days to get there
Yeah.
because my moods are very fluctuant. They're
Mm.
not the normal like fluctuation. There's high and quite highs, quite lows. I talk about it a lot to my followers and stuff. And so when the really low moods come, it's quite hard for me to uh, see them because I've been quite steady or up, and then suddenly, like it doesn't not suddenly they come in gently, and then it starts getting worse and worse. But the week before, I've been able to like, stop, put a hand on my heart, have a little pause, then like right next move, get into intuition, all that kind of stuff. But when the lows come, none of that works. So
Mm.
I've got to completely like have a new approach. But when lows come for me, they're also accompanied by a lot of negative self-talk,
Mm.
and it feels like someone sometimes overtakes my brain. And
Right.
so actually the thing that helps me
Mm.
is surrender and permission and um like acceptance that I'm not great at the moment because I'll want to be like, fix it. I need to fix
Yeah.
this. I don't want to feel like this. And,
Yeah.
and so, yeah, pure surrender takes a few days, and also sharing with someone like, I think I'm having a bit of a shit time. I'm having all these thoughts about myself. I am obsessing about that. I know it's not true. And I'm not in a great place. So reaching out, which is
Yeah.
not what I want to do in those times. I
Yeah.
want to just hide and isolate.
Yeah.
So, and it takes a lot of courage to reach out and tell people that you feel like you're failing when you're not failing, but it
Mm.
feels very real like you are.
Yeah.
Because I'm so capable at times,
Yeah.
like so capable, and I'm so high sometimes, and magnetic and creative and expressive and influential and all those things,
Yeah.
to then go the complete opposite is really hard to stomach.
Yeah. Yeah. And it comes back to like where we started. It's like loving all parts of the disco ball, right?
Exactly. Yeah, and
You
that's the bit
know?
I find really hard. And that's the bit I must have been having on that day when I
Yes,
messaged
when you
you.
did the bio. Yeah,
Yeah,
and it is like the hardest parts of us are always the hardest parts for us to navigate and negotiate, isn't it? And I think loving kindness,
yes.
self-compassion, and
Yeah.
again, not that easy when you're feeling like that,
When you're
right?
feeling like that, it's really not.
Yeah,
It's
it's
really hard.
easier to really be unkind and
Yeah,
to not be compassionate and to like try and force or push or
yeah.
and like whatever ourselves out of it instead of just going fuck I've just gotta like ride it
Ride
and
this,
allow
ride
it,
it. Yeah,
and try in all of this to like give myself some love instead of a really hard time. Because like you say, if on the other side and the other little bits of disco ball, there's this like competent, amazing, magnetic, fucking nailing it with what she's doing person, then in this other iteration, like it can be really fucking horrible to that
yeah,
part, right? Because it's like, well,
yeah,
why are you here again? And like all
yeah,
this stuff. It's
yeah,
oh yeah,
yeah. But I do find the pockets of joy and doing the things that I know that are that create that feeling of connection within my heart. The more I do those, the less I get the lows.
yeah, yeah,
So, but sometimes you can't control life, and I
absolutely.
have these tendencies, and it's learning to manage myself as well. And obviously,
Yeah,
I went through so much last year that I think it's had quite an effect on me.
yeah,
I'm not as stable as I was before they both
yeah,
died. So yeah, so it's kind of like I'm like treading a bit differently at the moment, um,
yeah.
and I'm experiencing things a little bit more extreme than I did
Right,
before, because I think I've got PTSD after what happened basically. So
right.
more highly reactive, more sensitive, that
Yeah,
kind of thing. And so part of my disco ball is understanding my capacity for
yeah,
what I can handle. Like I can't do big events, DJing in front of hundreds of people, and organizing that and selling all the tickets for all of that on Instagram. That's just
yeah,
like, whoa,
yeah,
but I could before.
yeah,
Um, Although I was having burnout afterwards, so maybe I couldn't, but I was just
yeah,
pushing myself through it. So yeah, it's understanding your capacity
yeah,
for what you can actually handle as well. And that's not easy because we are in a world of like, do more. What's the
yeah,
next
yeah,
thing? It's got to be bigger. So it's
yeah,
quite humbling for me to say I can't handle what I could handle before.
yeah,
Um, and it's quite hard for me to say that.
yeah,
But my truth is saying that's what you have to do. Just trust. Just
yeah,
trust. That's what you have to do at the moment. Yeah.
yeah. It's well, awareness is super helpful for us, right? Isn't it? But with that awareness, we can like meet it with some judgment, meet it with
Yes.
some love, meet it with
Yes.
so I guess it's as much as possible with this awareness. Okay, like I'm really going to try and tune into meeting it with love or
Yes.
kindness or self-compassion or like whatever
Yeah.
feels like the right fit instead of like I'm aware of this thing and now I'm going to judge the fuck out of it or I'm going to
Yes.
berate the hell out of myself, like the that slippery slope that's very easy for us
Yeah.
to see this thing happening over here and respond, react, whatever, feel around it here. And it's like, God, can we just hold ourselves
Yeah.
kindly and
Yeah.
tightly and say, it's all right to feel however we're freaking feeling. Let's be aware and let's be loving around the awareness.
Yeah.
And then see what's what, then see what's next, and then and let just be with it here instead
Yeah.
of,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. And I think compassion, self-compassion is just as such much of a practice as joy. In
yeah,
fact, if anything, like I feel like I'm not nailing joy because it's always a never-ending thing, but I know what brings me joy.
yeah,
Whereas with compassion, that's more of a practice that I'm more focused on at the moment.
yeah,
Um, Self-compassion, and that's just something that I do need reminding of quite a bit.
yeah,
Um, but yeah.
yeah. Oh, I've loved our chat, my darling.
Yay.
It's been amazing, and I think like super, super valuable for those listening because like we're never alone in how we're thinking or feeling and being, are we? So I think I always think with these conversations, whatever we touch upon, there'll be somebody going, "Oh yeah, that's me." Like I get, yeah, I've been thinking, feeling, being all of these things.
Mm.
And it's so good to hear this perspective even shift around it and to recognize, I think that we were talking about like the isolation. And so often we just feel like it's just us. We're isolated in this beingness and these thoughts, and we never are, right? But I think so often there's this polishedness everywhere from everybody, and so there lacks depth and realness, So like I love how open and honest your shares have been, my darling.
Good.
I always love to do a little bit of a laughter breath to kind
Oh
of,
God. Go on.
but I realized I didn't tell you
You didn't tell me
before
that.
we
Oh, and do you
recorded.
know what, Kat? I get
How do
really
you feel
cringy.
around it? Do you want
I
to
get
do
really
some?
cringy about laughter yoga. I'm a rebel, you know? I'm a rebel, a DJ rebel that's like, all right, I will do some of that stuff, but like, oh, fuck it, I'll give it a go. I say that in all my raves to everyone, fuck it,
Amazing. Yeah.
I'm up for it.
And I do, there's a part of me going, oh, fuck, I do. This is when we have the pre-chat before I do kind of go, oh, we're going to do some laughter breath just to let you know if that's okay. And I was like, oh, shit, I forgot to chat with Caroline if how she
Yeah.
feels. Because I never want anyone to feel. But also, I think your whole reaction is also just brilliantly real. And anyone listening might be going, yeah, I kind of feel like that too. And so actually, it's great to see what comes out the other side, right?
Okay. Yeah, no, I'm up for it because
Yeah,
all
all
right,
we're
I'm
going
up
to
for
do,
it.
we're going to take a breath in, and then when you breathe out, just let some juicy, hearty laughter come from your belly, right? And
All
anyone
right.
listening, join in too, and just notice how you feel just doing it in that moment. So let's take a deep breath in, and then breathe out with laughter.
You're laughing at me. You're not laughing with me. I can tell you're laughing at me.
Oh, I'm laughing with you, my darling.
Oh,
How did that feel in absolute honesty?
oh, well, I feel great.
Yeah,
Yeah, it felt,
yeah.
felt really good. Yeah, it felt really good.
Brilliant. Oh, do you know what? I love you so much for being up because if you'd said no, I'd been like, oh, okay, that's all cool, no worries.
Yeah,
But I love you for being like willing to we see it's again, it's that willingness,
willing.
right? Like
Yeah,
willing just to give it a try
yeah.
because who knows what's on the other side, right? So yeah, I love that. And I think that's just a like again a perfect example of everything you've been talking about about like where you are right now in, what's been going on for you. It's like, I'm just gonna like show my willingness and then, let's see what happens, right? So, oh, my
Thank you.
lovely. You have been incredible. Obviously, I'm going to put your details in the show notes for people can connect. But before we wrap up, I'd love you to share anything you've got coming up that people might be excited in. And yeah, any ways that people would love to connect. They might be that they have a question, having listened to this, and like, I just want to connect and see what's going on. So yeah, what would you love to share, my darling?
Well, I'd love to share that I'm not on socials at the moment.
Woo woo!
That was a long old decision, but that was something that had to be removed.
Yeah,
That's been quite tough because obviously all my ticket sales and everything are on there. But at the moment, that's the decision that has been made. So the best way for people to connect with me is through my email. So you can sign up to my mailing list,
yeah.
which is which I've given you the link to, haven't I?
You have, my darling.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
So yeah, so that's cool. And then in terms of events, I'm doing a charity event actually in June the 27th up north in Congleton.
Yeah.
So that's something I'm doing. I'm doing a few corporate bits, so I'm not selling tickets to anything out there in the ether at the moment, but you can listen to all my mixes. I've got empowerment mixes, all that kind of stuff. If you sign up to my mailing list, I'll send you all those details.
Mm.
And I'm really honest in my emails as well. I just keep it very real of where I'm at and all that kind of stuff. And people really appreciate that. So, yeah.
Amazing, amazing. So that sounds like a load of different wonderful ways that people can keep connected. And if they're like close to you, that charity event sounds like a brilliant thing to go and get. Yeah, go and get a little flavor of what you do and to feel in their joy and in their love and in their inner
Exactly.
peace and like all those beautiful things that sometimes we kind of like think are just selected moments and we save them. It's like, God, if we can have them right here,
Yeah.
right now, and learn the tools to access them all the time, then life gets to feel a ton easier, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. And I do think for people who used to go out clubbing and used to dance a lot or listen to house music and old school music, when you don't have it for a while and then you suddenly listen to it again, it reignites something that you used to remember. So, like in terms of my mixes and stuff, if you did used to go out and stuff, have a listen to some of them. Or come to that event in Congleton because I'm doing a 90 part of it is I'm doing a 90-minute 90s rave. So it's
oh,
going to be really off the scale, like quite fun, a lot of fun and proper euphoric.
oh
So
my God,
yeah, so that will
that
definitely bring you some joy.
that honestly, that if I was closer, that has me all over it. I'm going to have to look at June and whether there's any way I can make that work because that literally has my name written all over it. So
Yeah.
we'll have to see. Watch this space. All right,
Yay.
my darling, you've been absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for
It's a
all you've
pleasure.
shared, my darling. And thanks everyone for listening. Lots of
Lots
love.
of love, everyone.